Hi everyone, we are solving polynomial equations. We got a few more examples. I've got an example 1 ready for you. And the thing you want to do is factor as much as you can. Now this is a sum of cubes problem. So I'm going to rewrite x cubed plus 216 as x cubed plus 6 cubed equals 0. I'm going to work on the factoring on this side. Remember, take off the cubes, that's your first factor. And then we square. First term, we go subtraction, and then x times 6, and then we square the second term, and that equals 0. Let me just rewrite that, clean it up here a little bit. X plus 6 times x squared minus 6x plus 36 equals 0. All right, now you've got it factored. You set each factor equal to 0. So I'm going to take x plus 6 equals to 0. I'm going to write the word or. X squared minus 6x plus 36 equals 0. I'm going to solve both those. This one's easy to solve. I'll subtract 6 from both sides. And I've got x equals negative 6. This one, I'm wondering if we can factor it. We need two numbers that multiply to 36 and add to negative 6. And we're talking things like 9 times 4, no, negative 9 times negative 4, negative 6 times negative 6, 12, 3. I don't think that's going to happen. Factoring is not one of our things here. So we're going to go negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. We're going to use quadratic formula. A is 1, b is negative 6, and c is 36. So negative b is negative 6. Double negative is positive. 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 36 over, and we're going to give all the solutions to a. A is 1, and you'll see why I'm saying all the solutions here in a minute. X is 6 plus or minus the square root of, let's see, I'm just going to do that calculation under the radical. Negative 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 36, getting negative 108. Negative 6 plus or minus the square root of negative 108 over 2. All right, 108. I'm going to make a factor tree. I'm going to go with the exact. Now negative 108, that's negative 1 times 108. Let's do that. Just get the negative 1 out of the way first. That's 2 times 54. That's prime. I'll call negative 1 prime. That's 2 times 27. That's 9 times 3 and 3 times 3. Okay. I'm going to do the simplifying over here. I've got negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. Okay. So we got the square root of negative 1 times the square root of 2 squared times square root of 3 squared. Whenever I have square and square root, I'm going to times the square root of 3. This is I, this is 2, this is 3. Square root and square cancel out, and this is square root of 3. So this is 6i radical 3. That's what we have right here. So x equals 6 plus or minus 6i radical 3. All that's over 2. So we'll do 6 over 2 plus or minus 6I radical 3 over 2. And we are talking about 3 plus or minus, and 6 divided by 2 is 3, 3I radical 3. All right, so we have one real answer, -6. We've got a 3 plus 3. I'm going to put the I in back now. Got an imaginary solution. And we got another imaginary solution. 1, 2 imaginary and 1 real solution there. All right. Next example. Example 2. Let's take 8x cubed minus 1 set equal to 0. All right. This is going to require difference of cubes because 8 is 2 cubed. 2 to the third power x cubed minus 1. So that is 2x cubed minus 1. It's set equal to 0. And I'm going to use difference of cubes, and because this is 1 cubed. And this will be 2x minus 1. And then inside, I'm going to square this. And this is minus, so this is plus 2x times 1. And then always positive, 1 squared, which is 1. And that's equal to 0. But I'm going to rewrite it. I got 2x minus 1 times 4x squared plus 2x plus 1. That's equal to 0. All right, and I'm going to do what I did before. I'm going to set 2x minus 1 equal to 0, or 4x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 0. Add 1. This first one's easy. 2x equals 1, divide by 2, x equals 1/2. This second one, I think I'm going to have to use the quadratic formula again. Work it down here. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times 1. Oh dear. I'm going to have imaginary solutions again. Over 2 times 4. Now that's -2 plus or minus. This is 4. 4 times 4 is 16 times 1 is 16. So this is -12, and that's over 8. Now square root of -12, I'll do a little side work here, is square root of -1 times 2 times 2 times 3. I think I can do that without the... So I got square root of -1 times square root of 2 squared times the square root of 3. Try to get those squares. This is I. This square and square root cancel. That's 2. And this stays square root of 3. So I'm going to write that as 2I radical 3. So I'm at -2 plus or minus 2I radical 3. That's all over 8. Which is -2 over 8 plus or minus 2I radical 3 over 8, which is -1/4 plus or minus, I'm going to put 1 the 2/8, that's 1/4. I'm not going to write the 1, and I'll put the I out here. All right. So 1/2 is a solution. -1/4. That's plus or minus. -1/4 plus square root of 3 over 4 I and negative 1/4 minus the square root of 3 over 4i. So we have some imaginary solutions. So some of those equations we were doing before are coming back. Thought I'd do one more in somebody else's notebook who left their stuff here. And I was out of paper, so you find this in your notebook. Maybe you feel fortunate. All right, example 3. I'm going to go back to kind of the ones we were working on before. 4x to the 4th minus 8x squared plus 3 equals 0. All right, minus 8x squared. Okay. Now, this is one if you've got a power of 4 here and a power of 2 here, where this power is twice as much as this, and you have no power here. This is one where the quadratic techniques can work really well. So let u equal x squared. That means that u squared, if I square this and square this, u squared is x to the 4th. Okay. So x to the 4th, that's u squared. So 4u squared minus 8u, substituting in the u's here. And then I'll put the x squared back in after we find out what u is. Decidedly out of focus there, wasn't it? All right. Anything multiply. I think I'm going to use an old factoring technique, maybe, if it works. Six times 2, negative 6 times 2. So negative 6 plus negative 2 is negative 8. I'm going to use grouping here. 4u squared minus 6u minus 2u plus 3 is equal to 0. All right, I'm going to use grouping. So I'm using factoring. You can go straight to the quadratic formula if you want. I might actually do that at the end just to kind of show that that's an alternative if you can't think how to group these up. Now, GCF is 2u. So I have 2u minus 3 here. Now I'm going to go minus 2, and this is negative. I'll make that negative. No, minus, sorry. There's no GCF there. I'm going to go minus, though, and I'll go 2u, and a negative negative makes the positive. Negative negative will make the positive. Equals 0. And this could be a 1 out here. So when I factor that, that's 2u minus 1, these two, and then the common 2u minus 3 equals 0. So 2u minus 1 equals 0, or 2u minus 3 equals 0. I'll add 1. We got 2u equals 1, and u is 1/2. I'll add 3. 2u equals 3, or u is 3/2. Now, and here's where it will get a little tricky, but remember u is x squared. So I'm going to put x squared here equals 1/2, or x squared equals 3/2. So I'm going to take the square root. When I take the square root, I got to go positive and negative. So x equals plus or minus the square root of 1/2. Take the square root of both sides here. Hello. Okay. Equals plus or minus the square root of 3/2 over here. All right, I'm going to simplify this a little bit. I got the square root of 1 over square root of 2. I'm going to multiply, I'm going to rationalize the denominator, and this is equal to plus or minus the square root of 2 over 2. Square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. And this one, plus minus the square root of 3 over the square root of 2. I'm going to multiply by the square root of 2. Square root of 2, and now that's the square root of 6 over 2, and it's plus or minus. So I got the square root of 2 over 2, negative square root of 2 over 2, square root of 6 over 2, and negative square root of 6 over 2. All right.